The 1990s produced some of the best creature features of all time, in my opinion. We have some of the best movies, period, with Jurassic Park and The Lost World. You also have one of the best shark movies of all time, Deep Blue Sea. And you have cult classics like Tremors and Anaconda. But today I want to talk about one that doesn't come up a lot in conversation. It seems to have been kind of lost in the ether and forgotten. But people who know it usually speak highly of it. It was panned at the time by critics, and it got buried in the reviews at the box office because of it came out a week before Deep Blue Sea, so maybe the marketing wasn't quite there for it, and it didn't really bring anything original to the genre. But today I want to make a case for it being something that you definitely should check out if you haven't. If not, revisit it and give it another chance. So let's kind of get into it today. First of all, the cast. It's helmed by the cast. It's been the writing, but you have four strong leads here that kind of make the movie. You have Bridget Fonda. She's kind of playing a paleontologist, and she's definitely out of her element. She's not used to being in the field. She's just a museum kind of technician, and she gets thrown into this situation where she's being called to Maine to look at a tooth, and then she ends up having to go out on the lake and be a part of the investigation. And she's, way out of her element. She's from New York. She's feisty. She's pissed off at everybody. She's coming off a breakup, and everybody around her is kind of having to deal with her, but she makes it fun, right? You get the sheriff played by Brendan Gleeson. He's, kind of a lovable goofball. They kind of play him as being a little bit, slow, but he's just a small town sheriff stereotype, but he does it well, right? He's a brilliant actor, brilliant character actor. You have Oliver Platt comes in. He steals every scene he's in. He's my favorite character. As Hector Sear, he's the crocodile expert, mythology professor. And then you have Bill Pullman as kind of the alpha lead of the group, kind of keeps everybody together. He's a straight man. And they all kind of play off of each other, right? All their dynamics and their bickering and arguing and dysfunction is really what makes the movie. It's set in Maine, a little kind of an unknown, little lake, doesn't have a lot of people on it, a very small town population around it. They actually filmed in several lakes in Vancouver and British Columbia. But the setting's beautiful, the mountains around this lake, and they really showcase it, especially in the opening credits. Kind of really brings everything together, make you feel like you're out in the middle of nowhere, isolated. There's no civilization featured hardly at all in the movie after the first 15 minutes or so. And from there we kind of get it's a simple plot, like I said. It's just a straightforward, someone's killing people on a lake, the authorities get called in, law enforcement, and then a couple experts, being Pratt and Fonda's character, come in and give their opinions on it and get involved and kind of take over as leading it. As far as the crocodile goes, I would say this is one of the best looking crocodiles on film, if not the best. In fact, I'll just say that it is the best as far as practical effects with a crocodile on screen goes. Stan Winston's team led the way on this, and nothing less than what you would expect from him as far as how it's utilized. They don't show it a lot throughout most of the movie, which is a good thing. You see it more in the third act at the climax, but they use it sparingly throughout the movie. You get hints of it, quick scenes with it, and as soon as you get it, you're seeing it, and when you get a sense for it, before you know it, it's gone, right? They do add CGI, and the CGI I think is decent. As far as late 90s CGI goes, it's about as good as you're going to get. I think it looks way better than the sharks in Deep Blue Sea CGI. But the practical effects are as good as you can expect. They did build a full-size 30-foot crocodile, using aquatic hydraulics. So it's used in the water. It's used, every scene that's featured in it's used realistically. I would say they don't do too much with it where they're asking it to, do erratic movements or do anything that's going to make it seem unreal, not real, even though the fact that it's 30 foot alone, is kind of unrealistic. But hey, who knows? Maybe there's some out there like that. So that's one of the reasons I like it. It sticks to practical, and it's got the genius of Stan Winston bringing it together, bringing it to life. And so why is this movie so underrated, right? What kind of held it back? Well, like I said before, it doesn't bring a whole lot to the table. It's pretty, straightforward, and it's a Steve Miner film, right? Steve Miner is known for making very simple films. There's no fat on them. In fact, the movie's not even a full 90 minutes. It's like 84 minutes. And so just like what we see with him with Halloween H2O and Friday the 13th Part 2 and 3, it's just straight A to Z, set the plot up, get the characters in, have some fun in the middle, and get out. There's no subplots or nonsense thrown in. And those are kind of my favorite movies, generally speaking. And I would say that the fact that there's only a couple kills in the movie, and it's not that it's slow ever, in my opinion, because, again, the characters are so much fun, in my opinion, to watch, but not a whole lot happens scene to scene, right? It's a lot of them arguing. It's a lot of them, figuring out what the next step's going to be. And then, they go on the lake. Then they're back, they're arguing. Something happens on the lake, they're back arguing until you get to the climax. And two people get killed the whole movie. They're pretty quick scenes. So there's not a lot of crocodile action getting you from A to Z. It's the characters. So, but again, they're A-list actors, A-list talent. And on top of that, they throw in Betty White, and she steals the scenes as well. She's in 2 or 3 scenes, and she's absolutely classic. I mean, you want to watch the movie just for her. She's doing her best to, reliving her Golden Girls days, where she's got the fresh mouth and coming in, making a couple of lines that just leaves everybody in complete shock, and then, gets in and gets out. I think it's very underrated in terms of, it's got a great score. Like I said, the crocodile looks great. Cast is great. What holds us back is it's just not bringing anything to the table. It's original, and it came out a week before Deep Blue Sea. So once that came out, everybody was waiting to see that anyways. And it got buried. It was forgotten about. On paper, though, what you're getting is just a very plain creature feature movie that is not reinventing the wheel, and is not leaving you a lot to talk about unless you love the characters, unless you love creature feature movies, right? Deep Blue Sea, you've got explosions, you've got Samuel L. Jackson, you've got famous scenes with the sharks randomly showing up and killing him or somebody else. This is kind of plays it very safe. Like I said, that like a typical Steve Miner film would. But in my opinion, it doesn't make it a bad thing. And this is absolutely one of my favorite comfort movies overall. I watch it every year, if not twice a year, especially like in the spring or summertime. I'd recommend you to go check it out. And I'm sure there's an online following, and you guys need to start speaking up a little bit more about it, spread the word on it, because I think it needs to see a resurgence. There's a lot of movies have seen a resurgence lately because of streaming or the internet in general, and I think Lake Placid is due for a comeback. And thank you for watching.